So friends, we're here with Claude, famous for writing, one of the most powerful, strongest AIs with the best writing style. So let's do nothing else but test it against the BookBench. What is the BookBench? It's an index that measures how effective an artificial intelligence is at writing a book. And it does this through 10 parameters, such as the title, the summary, the style, the content, the length, readability, the humanity of the text, the ability to write an entire chapter, the ability to write an entire book, and the token context, that is, the internal input and output memory of an artificial intelligence. So just a few tests, 10 agents that measure all the capabilities and give a final result that ranges from 1 to 100. At the moment, no one has ever reached 100 yet. Here we are in the interface, and let's immediately load the first prompt where we ask it to write a title, a subtitle, and a summary for our book, which is about how to write a book to become authoritative and build a personal brand. Here is my usual prompt, and right away, very quickly, it gives us titles, 5 titles, and a detailed summary, specifically for title 1, Write and Dominate. Authority in 200 pages, from know-how to bestseller, the magnetic book, Write Your Leadership. We won't be the ones to judge, but our BookBench will. So let's copy the titles and go to the title evaluator. The titles will be evaluated based on 5 parameters. So, Write or Dominate scores 66 out of 100 with good linguistic coherence, a rather weak emotional impact, good clarity, decent commercial appeal, so average, and poor memorability. Okay, 73 out of 100 for authority in 200 pages, maybe due to its concreteness and emotional impact. We see slightly higher scores. From know-how to bestseller gets 69 out of 100. The magnetic book, which I really like, scores 74, and Write Your Leadership gets 71. Well, overall, I'd say it's good, a 7 out of 10, which is an excellent score. So let's go to the total calculator and give Claude, specifically the Sonnet 4 model, a solid 7 for the titles. In the meantime, let's take the summary of all the chapters and manage it here. And here too, the summary is evaluated based on 5 parameters. A nice 78 out of 100, which corresponds to an 8, an excellent score. 18 out of 20 for linguistic coherence, 10 out of 20 for emotional impact, which is still a bit low, 20 out of 20, which I've rarely seen, for clarity, 16 for commercial appeal, and 14 for memorability. So I would say a solid 8, which is an excellent result. But now let's put it under a bit of pressure because we're going to ask it to write the introduction. We're asking it to write a 2,000-word introduction. 2,000 is a fairly long length where many artificial intelligences struggle and fail to complete the task. The nice thing about Claude is that it automatically opens a canvas, a blank page to write on separately, so it actually creates the introduction as its own document, which you can also edit and rework. This can be very useful for actually planning a book, where you can then add your own story, your personal challenges, and customize the book because a book needs to be personalized. It can't be written solely by artificial intelligence. So in this, Claude is helpful, and generally it writes very well and formats things nicely. So you can see the paragraph titles, the bold text, it's well done. Claude is specialized in writing, even though it has some limitations, which is why I haven't used it that much. I've preferred other AIs with longer context, longer outputs, and so on. But overall, Claude generally does a pretty good job. And let's see, it's writing the introduction now, and as soon as it's done, we'll copy it and check if it's 2,000 words long and if it passes the BookBench test. We'll analyze it from the point of view of style and content. Here it is, finished. Let's copy it and go to our style and content section to analyze it. What I notice is that there are often very short sentences, which BookBench doesn't like. In fact, for style, it gets a 7 out of 10 for linguistic coherence, 8 out of 10 for clarity, and a 4 for structure. Let's review it for a moment. You see, they're all short little sentences, huh? It doesn't like them this short inside a book. In fact, such short sentences aren't usually used in a book. It sounds more like a blog article. But we specifically told it that it's a book. On the content side, story gets a 7, promised opportunity a 9, problem resolution an 8, so that's a 6 and an 8. Now let's take a closer look at the content. 6 for style, 8 for content. Let's maybe read a little bit from the beginning. It was a cold November morning when my phone rang. On the other end was Marco, a financial consultant from Merano with 20 years of experience behind him. His voice was trembling slightly when he said to me, "Giacomo, I lost my most important client." He told me he prefers to work with someone who has written a book about the industry. He says that people who write books are more credible. Exactly, we've been saying this for years. That phone call hit me like a punch in the stomach. Marco was excellent at his job. He had helped hundreds of entrepreneurs optimize their finances, yet he lost everything because of a simple perception. He wasn't seen as an authority. Nice, nice, well written, yes, not that much better than many other artificial intelligences, but still it's well written. I mean, we're in a generation of very powerful AIs, very good at writing, so I'd say the work is still an 8, as we said. Now, stress test, write an entire chapter, which is not easy at all. We're asking it to write the whole first chapter. Based on the summary, write paragraphs 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, each 2,000 words for a total of 10,000 words. I tell it to thoroughly elaborate on all the paragraphs, to include stories, to use all the tokens it has available, because most artificial intelligences collapse, freeze, stop, they can't do it. So let's see if Claude can do it, and let's see how far it can get. Usually it's a broad context. Sorry. In the meantime, while I set it to work on chapter 1, we still have to evaluate here. We've looked at style and content. Let's check the length because we haven't evaluated that yet. It's 1,500 words, which is an 8 out of 10. I expected a bit more from Claude, and a readability index. We use the 58 index, which is also an 8 out of 10. It's not easy, it's not difficult, but it's not perfect, especially for training purposes. Anyway, 8 and 8 are both excellent scores. 8 for length, 8 for readability. And we still have another parameter, which is humanity. That is the ability to pass as human and not be detected as artificial intelligence. Let's see if it's detected as artificial intelligence. Yes, 46%. Variability, creativity 6, complexity 5, personal voice 6. In short, all 5s and 6s not great. In fact, the final score is 5 out of 10 for humanity, 5 out of 10. So while we wait to see if it's writing the whole chapter, let's check if it's at least writing long, substantial paragraphs. I'd say it is. All right, while we wait for it to finish writing chapter 1, guys, leave a like and a supportive comment for the channel. Write whatever you like, because that way the YouTube algorithm sees us best, but in particular, let me know if you like it, if you use Claude, if you use other artificial intelligences, what you would like us to test in the BookBench. If you have ever written a book with artificial intelligence, give me your feedback, but do it. Don't just watch the video and then don't write anything. Just like so many people who watch the videos but then don't follow the channel. Click follow. It costs you nothing, it makes a big difference for us, and most importantly, you won't miss any of the other videos. So do it for yourself, like, follow, and comment on the video. Alright, we're almost there. We're at the last paragraph of chapter 1. I'd say it's going really well, and pretty fast too. So Claude is quite, I would say, good. Very good. Very reliable when it comes to writing long texts, like blog articles or, in this case, books. Writing an entire chapter isn't something many can do, or if they do, it's in a very condensed way, so they write 2,000 or 3,000 words, which obviously isn't enough. 10,000 words is the goal. Let's see where we're at. Let's see if by I can tell now I have some experience. In my opinion, we're around 5,000. These are probably paragraphs of 1,000, maybe 1,200 words, not 2,000. Everyone really struggles with this. It tells me it's about 10,000 words, but I really don't think so. So let's copy and check the chapter. It's 3,870 words. This inability to, so a score of 4 out of 10, the AI's inability to actually count the tokens and words used is truly a shame. 4 out of 10, which is still decent writing, but it's not a chapter, so you can use it to write paragraphs one at a time, but you can't use it to write chapters. Let alone now with the final stress test, which is to have it write the entire book, the whole book. So let's go back here and ask it to do everything else. So write all the other 4 chapters, chapters 2, 3, 4, and 5, each with 5 paragraphs and 2,000 words, 10,000 words per chapter, for a total of 40,000 words across 4 chapters. I also try to motivate it. With the large token context you have all the resources you need. Proceed without interruptions with the complete work in a single output. If you think you might exceed the token limits, just keep going as far as you can in one go. Let's see how far it gets, and in a few seconds we'll reconnect. I'll cut a little bit so we can see, and I won't waste your time. We'll go straight to the result. All right, here we are. Claude has reached the maximum length for a single message. Press continue to let it proceed. But not us. We're actually interested in the single message to understand how much it can do in terms of output tokens. So let's look at the full book part. Let's see how many characters it produced. 4,260. That's not much at all. It's a pretty small output. 4,000 words would be about 7,000 tokens. That's not a lot. So let's calculate the full book score. In fact, it's 1 out of 10. Out of 40,000, 4,000 is rightly 1 out of 10. So let's go to the token calculator. Keep in mind that the context window declared by Claude is 200,000 tokens. The maximum input tokens we've managed to load with our ready-made Word files, each with different word counts, is 16,000, which isn't bad. But of course, you can't load an entire book with that. And as for the output, we've seen, as we said, 4,200, yes, 4,260. So the token score is 3 out of 10, not great. This is where, in my opinion, Claude falls short, because otherwise it's very good, but when it comes to length, it gives way, and quickly. It didn't meet the goal for the introduction, was way off for the chapter, and for the whole book, extremely far off. So unfortunately, we're still far from the goal. A score of 58 out of 100, so 58 out of 100, a score that's mediocre, from a Claude that's known for its writing ability. The content is definitely excellent. I also like the way the files are organized in tables, introduction at 6, chapter 1 at 6, and so on. But in terms of length, style, readability, and humanity, there are so many little points that bring the score down and result in a final grade of 58 out of 100. So we definitely have the best when it comes to writing, and with a much larger context both in output, input, and overall. So go check out which artificial intelligences achieve better results. I'll share a couple for you to look at because they are very, very interesting and hold some surprises. You might not have expected to be able to use them to write a book. So enjoy watching.